welcome to Take 5 with the Top 50 CEO, the video interview series with Atlantic Business Magazine's Top 50 CEOs. Each episode, we ask 5 questions to find out what makes these award-winning leaders tick. I'm Kevin Fraser. I'm a partner with Grant Thornton's Transaction Advisory Services team here in Halifax. And in this episode, I'm talking to Dean Shea, owner and president of the Shea Group of Companies. Dean has grown 7 diverse companies from the ground up through discipline, execution, and a commitment to excellence. In 2020, the Shea Group of Companies increased revenue year over year by 28% and successfully expanded one of their divisions into Central Canada and multinationally. Dean, thanks for joining me, and let's get started. What exactly is the Shea Group of Companies? What types of businesses come under that umbrella?
The Shea Group of Companies are a group of companies that I've developed through basically different parts of the construction industry. So I started with a general construction company, Castone Construction. Then I went into a mechanical electrical company, BP Mechanical, which my background was an electrician. So it seemed a natural fit to have some electricians as well. And then I bought a small mechanical company. My other groups of companies are real estate, commercial, and residential. I also have a software company that does building automation, and again, is tied to the construction in a way, or at least building and real estate. So, which is all kind of connected. So that's kind of this Shea Group of companies that I've grown, is mostly between real estate and construction, and just seeing going with companies that kind of fit my knowledge, which is basically construction and real estate renovations.
Kind of building off that, Dean, if you were to look at the various businesses and look at or consider which of those businesses has the highest growth potential, how do you feel about that? What would you say would be the component of the business that has that highest potential?
I think EcoPilot is the company with the most potential for reasons that I have the North American market, the rights to that market, and I have expanded with in Toronto, Calgary, Boston, Detroit, or Michigan, and New York. And just in those, each one of those states is basically a country of its own, let alone the United States, and then all of Canada. Basically the opportunity in the green energy market is huge, and everybody is, today thinking more and more on green energy and how we can help the environment. And with 1 million new buildings being built a year in the US, I'm not quite sure how many in Canada, and then the existing infrastructure, it's a multi-trillion-dollar market, and there's not many players that do what I do, and with my software, it's unique in the world, and I'm sure others will catch up. But in a $1 trillion market, I'm not too worried about competition. Everybody, hopefully more competition is good, because it will bring more awareness and more people working in the, more people ready to make that change in automation in their building.
Thanks, Dean. Just maybe to build on that, you mentioned around EcoPilot and the opportunity within the broader industry, but maybe tell us a little bit more about sort of the whether it's the unique value proposition, or really from the EcoPilot software and what it's doing to benefit the building owner, if you will. Maybe just talk a little bit more about like what the EcoPilot solution brings to a potential customer.
So EcoPilot brings a solution that goes over top of your existing BMS infrastructure. Sometimes we will add some infrastructure to the building in the way of sensors or a BMS system if the building lacks that infrastructure already. And what happens is EcoPilot is a software that goes over top of the building BMS, and it just makes it's second to second, real time looking at your building and making real time changes instead of a lot of BMS is programmed and is reactive compared to our software, which is preparing your building all of the time for the future and looking ahead. So what the software does is basically reduces your energy consumption and waste in your building, which allows the landlord to pay less on utilities. And the other big thing is comfort for their tenants. It's, a lot of buildings now have big swings up and down. It's hot, it's cold. It's hot, it's cold, especially in a climate like Nova Scotia or the eastern seaboard of Canada and the US with our weather patterns. So basically allowing the landlords to have give their tenants a better climate in the building and less swings, more comfort for the tenants, which makes the tenant happier and keeps the tenant longer, and then of course saves energy in their building and reduces the carbon footprint of their building, and then CO2 waste in our environment, all kind of together. Those are the benefits to the landlord or to our client.
Okay. Perfect. Thanks, Dean. I just thought it sounds like an exciting opportunity. I thought it might be beneficial to have the opportunity to talk a little bit more about the value proposition of EcoPilot.
Yep.
Turning back to the broader group, Dean, you started your first company in 2005, and here we are 16 years later, and there are now 7 companies within the group. If you think back and reflect, I'd be interested to know, what is your process for spotting, identifying, and operationalizing opportunities, in support of going after the next segment that might be very much complementary to your broader group?
So for me, I've always kind of stuck to what I know in a sense. I started as an electrician, and I did automation and building HVAC systems. And then when I decided I wanted to work for myself, I started a small electrical company and realized that I could get more work doing carpentry and construction. So I had an uncle, and I hired my uncle, and we kind of did kind of everything, and that's how Castone was born. And then again, down the road, I got into thinking of HVAC as well, and mechanical work and my electrical background. So I, always was waiting for subcontractors and thought, well, I'll have my own small mechanical electrical shop. And that's when I bought a retiring individual that was selling his business and retiring in the mechanical world. And then I combined that with my electricians, started VP Mechanical, and then with all of my experience in renovation and construction, I started to buy residential real estate, then and do renovate the units and rent them out, and try to give people a good place to live with a good rent. And then again, I bought a commercial building, and now I'm developing a building in Enfield, Nova Scotia. So everything is kind of just developed off of things that I know. And then that's when I spotted the opportunity with EcoPilot and the new software. With my building background on HVAC and my electrical background, it seemed like a great fit. So I have always just grown off of what knowledge I have in my industry. I've thought of other things like restaurants and so on, but I'm not a chef, and I'm not a good cook. So, I don't know those businesses well, and I try to stay in my lane of what I know and understand, and grow from there, and grow from that experience of growing those companies.
Perfect. And I think when you talk about staying in your lane, I think at the end of the day, it sounds to me that certainly, although you've potentially done that, you certainly are still seeking out opportunities that seem to fit within the broader, the broader scope of what the group is looking to accomplish. So it's interesting when the last question was about opportunities, and maybe the next question we turn it a little bit to the concept of potentially challenges or even failures. And many business owners that I work with and speak with, and in some cases, some of their most valuable learnings have been from business ventures that perhaps may not have gone according to plan. So the next question here, Dean, there's probably a couple of questions in the question, and maybe may not be as applicable in your case. But have you ever had a business fail? If you did, or if yes, what did you learn from the experience? And if you haven't ever had a business fail, what do you feel has been key for you in maintaining that level of success? And also, are there certain approaches, key operating metrics, overriding themes or approaches that you've taken to each of these businesses, regardless of the nature, that has helped to ensure that success?
So I've never had a business fail. I have, like I said earlier, tried to stay in more of my lane that I understand. I haven't gone out and got into a business that I didn't feel that I was comfortable in my knowledge in. And but I think for me, a lot of my success and where I seen opportunity was, I started as an employee, obviously as an electrician out of school, and I felt that the industry was quite harsh on tradesmen, in the sense that it was, you had to be there at 20 minutes before work, and as a tradesman you start early, 6:30 or 7, so you're there at 6:30, quarter to 7, and then no excuse, no reason to leave before 3:30. And if you did, you were looked down on, whether it was -40, whether it was 36 degrees out with the humidex at 40, and it didn't make sense to really be there. It was an atmosphere where you were treated that you just had to be at work. And I mean, that's great. We all need a job, and we are expected to complete that job in the timeline. But I found that it was too over the top, and so when I started my group of companies, and as I grew them, I always remembered that and went back to treating people well. If somebody had to take their kid to the first day of school, if they weren't feeling well, if it was 40 degrees out that day, if it was -40, those are things as a tradesman that I would look back on and say, that's just silly. We're not accomplishing anything today. Let's leave at lunch, or let's not come in, or let's try to work indoors today. And getting rid of this tough. You have to be tough, and you have to, there's no excuse not to be there, and to be, other companies and other industries definitely were changing and leaning more to keeping their employees happy and the needs of their employees. And I just found in the construction industry, there was none of that. It was very closed-minded, and this is it. And if you're not here, you don't have a job. So I changed that with my group anyway, and tried to, I'm not saying all companies were like that. It was my experience anyway, and just treating people well, and letting them have that afternoon to go to the bank, and they're not worried about possibly losing their job, or letting them take their child to their first day of school, or whatever came up family-wise. Paying people for some missed time in my day, there was never getting paid a dollar for if you weren't on site working. So I try to treat people well. Well, you're going to be late that day, and you dropped your little one off at school. Well, I'm going to pay you for that 2 or 3 hours, because that's important to you, and you're important to me. So I want to keep you happy. And I think that that's not a revolutionary thing. It's just totally different than I was treated as a tradesman, and I did have good jobs, and I worked for good companies. It was just the way it was. So I brought a lot of those 5 years of my apprenticeship, and seeing what I seen and how I was treated, and just seeing too that if you treated people a little bit better, and not take out the fear factor of them having their job, and giving them that good place to work, and that you would work with them. That's really how I developed my group and grew people, and went through lots of changes, and keeping more and more and more and more good people. And now today, people love to work at the Shea group of companies, and I think it's because of that atmosphere that we bring in the construction industry and the other companies, that we care about the employees more than maybe others do.
So it's all about people, I think, is what I'm hearing from that. And from the perspective, Dean, of developing, obviously loyalty from the team, and reducing turnover, and improving retention. Have you seen that you've gotten the payback as the business owner from that perspective, with the level of loyalty, and again, it has to be genuine, and it has to be real, but that ultimately, that the decision for someone to potentially choose to leave the group is a much more important or impactful decision in your case than it might be in others.
For sure. So keeping people is key, especially in a market that we're in today. Anybody that works at the Shea Group could leave today and have a job tomorrow. As the industry's busy, but I think that even when the industry's slow, it's that commitment to the people. It's about having always being committed, and keeping a steady, good work balance, life balance with the guys. But I think that I've started in 2005, and in my early years, there was only a few people, including me. But I would say in the last 16, going on 17 years, there are, out of 15 of those 17, they're the same employees. Lost very few people over the years. Most, and some that have left have come back and realized the grass isn't greener, and that we really do have a great atmosphere and a great place to work. We have a great Christmas party, a great summer party, a great support system for the guys on, and our staff on. If they need help buying a home or anything like that, we're right there to help them. And it has turned, it has been everything for my group's growth, because without your people, you have nothing. But it has made all the difference in the world. Treating people well has come back for me in spades, over and over again. And I don't look back and think I would be where I am if I didn't treat people that way, and didn't have them. But it just gives them that commitment. A lot of people in the trade world come in and they don't know what to expect in the beginning, but as they work here and get used to our culture and the place to be, or our workplace, they love it, and they don't see a lot of the same atmosphere out there in the construction industry. So, and then when you get busy and people get phone calls, would you come with us? Money doesn't become the overall driving force behind where they work. They want to work for someone they know, they trust, that they know when it's busy or slow, they're going to have a job. And I think that allows you in the busy times to make money, and to do well, and not worry about losing your people over $2 an hour, which happens regularly in our industry. So it helps you retain your people, it helps you grow your business, and keep good people long term.
Impressive and well done, Dean. And it kind of, I think this leads to my last question. It really is about people, but I'll turn the tables a little bit, maybe on you, from the perspective of your leadership style. And so if I were to ask one of your employees, or any of your employees, to list your strengths and weaknesses, what do you think they would say, firstly? And secondly, how, from your perspective, how would they describe you as a leader?
I think my employees would say my strengths are that I listen to them well, that my door is always open. Over 100 employees are at the Shea Group of companies, and I take personal calls from anybody in the evening, I on the weekend, sometimes too, sometimes anytime. So vacation or not, they just know that I have, that I'm able to be reached. And I think when you start to expand and get more and more layers to your company, people feel maybe that they can't talk to the guy that they used to talk to, or they worry, will they really get the straight answer? So I think a strength for me is just always being there to listen to the guys and always take their call, and to make them feel like I don't feel like I'm on a level above them in any way. I feel like we're on even playing field, and that if they have a question, whether it's personal or business, that I'm willing to listen and be there for them. On a weakness, I'm not sure what they would say. I maybe I could more speak to a weakness I think that I have is, I maybe let some of my employees that aren't performing as well get away with a little bit too much, trying to get them to see the value in our culture and see the value in what the Shea Group offers, and trying to get them to change their ways, maybe to be more of a team player and more on our side of things. And maybe that frustrates some of the guys, because obviously if people see other people not performing as well as them, and maybe that is letting them get away with that for too long can be a problem. But I'm not sure what they would say, but I know that has come up in the past. You're giving this guy a fifth chance, or this girl for fifth chance. Why? And maybe I'm sometimes too easy on the staff. Not that I don't know, something like that. Yeah.
It's a tough.
Yeah, for sure.
And I guess just finally, in relation to that, how would they describe you as a leader?
I think they would describe me as a good leader, as someone that is, like I said before, there to listen to them, whether it's business related or not. I push the guys to own their own home, and I push them to save money through our RSP program. I push them to do lots of things that aren't necessarily a benefit to me, but is a benefit to them. And I try to help to lead everyone, not just in business, but not that I have all the answers, but I definitely try to be there as more than a maybe say a boss and a friend. Try to be there as a friend and as an employer, and help them with anything that I can. So I think that they would consider me a good leader, and not just someone that's out there to make a buck.